What if I told you that what most weakens you today doesn't shout, doesn't threaten, doesn't appear on exams, yet consumes you from within every single day? It's invisible, but it's there, draining your energy, disordering your thoughts, sabotaging your most important moments, without you even noticing. Most people only change when they hit their limit, but true erosion rarely comes from big blows. It's born from accumulation, silent habits, repetitive thoughts, relationships that seemed harmless but are now corroding the foundation of your emotional health. And the most dangerous part? You've learned to call it normal. But now it's different. Now is the moment to cut from the root. You don't need to explain yourself, defend yourself, or wait for others to understand. Some changes are silent but definitive. The Stoics understood this. The most admirable strength doesn't raise its voice. It's built in the quiet firmness of someone who no longer negotiates with what destroys them from within. In this video, you'll discover 9 cuts that will restore your peace, your clarity, and your emotional strength. Not out of pride, but out of respect. Respect for the person you're becoming. And before we begin, write in the comments. Today, I break the cycle in silence. I am Stoic. Let's begin. 1. Expel the thoughts that destroy you in silence. They don't knock on your door. They enter without permission, sit on the sofa of your mind, and start disordering everything, as if they were the rightful owners. And the worst part? Often it's you who quietly hands them the key without even realizing it, accepting them as truth, never questioning them, as if these thoughts had a right to be there. But what if I told you that today you could change the lock? That you could stop being a hostage to these weakening ideas and take, once and for all, control of your own mind? These thoughts are like ancient pathways. You've walked them so many times that you no longer notice you're returning to the same place. Guilt, comparison, insecurity. And what is repeated too often eventually becomes belief. How many times have you heard your mind say, "You're not good enough. Nothing ever goes right for you. You always ruin everything"? These phrases, if left unchallenged, take deep root. As the Stoic Musonius Rufus, Epictetus's teacher, said, "The fact that a thought inhabits your mind does not mean it deserves your obedience." You don't have to follow every thought that appears. You can choose others, wiser, healthier ones. There is another path. As Socrates said, "The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." And that begins inside your mind. Here are 3 practical strategies to ensure those self-destructive thoughts no longer control you. First, question the thought. Don't accept everything your mind says as truth. Ask simple questions. Is this thought useful? Does it help me? Imagine you see a flame burning. Would you put your hand in it just because someone told you to? Then why believe a thought that only causes you harm? A thought is not an order. It's a suggestion, and you can reject it. Second, break the pattern with active language. When a self-sabotaging thought appears, don't stay silent. Respond to it. Say, "Thank you, thought, but today I'm focusing on the solution." This simple phrase breaks the automatic cycle of negativity, and when you choose what to feed, your mind begins to follow you, not the other way around. Third, shift your focus intentionally. Your brain isn't multitasking. It can only focus on one thing at a time. If you choose to focus on gratitude, purpose, and presence, negative thoughts begin to lose their spotlight. Thoughts are like plants. The ones you water grow. Water the ones that strengthen you, and let the others dry out. And if you want a quick daily strategy, remember the acronym PAS. P for perceive the automatic thought. A for accept that it appeared, but don't cling to it. Z for zealously redirect your attention toward what strengthens you. Ultimately, understand this. You don't need to fight negative thoughts. You simply need to learn not to obey them. Psychologist Rachel Goldman, a specialist in mental health and behavioral change, explains it perfectly. We all have useless thoughts from time to time. The important thing is not to let them direct your life. True power isn't in having a quiet mind, it's in choosing which voice you give the microphone. Overcoming negative thoughts isn't about winning an internal war. It's about learning to change the language you use to speak to yourself. Be firm without harming yourself. Be attentive without punishing yourself. Be the master of your mind without becoming your own executioner. So next time a thought tries to dictate your worth, remember, you hold the key. The house is yours, and you no longer have to live with what harms you. 2. Stop minimizing yourself to be accepted. Living to please others is like walking down a wide road, full of applause, but one that leads you to a place you never wanted to be. It's smiling on the outside while staying silent inside. It's saying yes with your mouth, but not with your heart. At first, no one notices, not even you, because the fear of disappointing others is an invisible chain, light enough to ignore, but heavy enough to keep you bound. Every decision you make to avoid conflict or judgment carries a cost, and it's not small. Economists call it the opportunity cost, what you lose each time you choose one path over another. Here, the cost is emotional. It's abandoning your truth. It's swallowing your desires to fit others' expectations. It's wasting irreplaceable time trying to be who they want, not who you truly are. Every yes you give to please others may be a no to what truly fulfills you. You lose energy. You lose freedom. You lose time. And most gravely, you lose yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free if he is not master of himself." And trying to please everyone? That's precisely surrendering that freedom, living as a slave to the image you believe others want to see. So pause and ask yourself bravely, what price am I paying to be accepted? Perhaps you've never calculated it, but you pay it every day, in your forced silences, in your postponed dreams, in your archived desires. Each choice to please builds another brick in the invisible wall, separating you from your authenticity. And the harshest truth is this: the more you try to please, the less you find yourself, because pleasing everyone requires you to dim yourself little by little. But there's a new choice. When you begin to measure that cost and decide to stop paying it, something changes. You start prioritizing yourself. And this isn't selfishness, it's responsibility to your own existence. Living authentically is the most powerful investment you can make. It may not please everyone, but it pleases the one person who matters most, you, at peace with yourself. So write in the comments, as a turning point, "I bet on myself." This phrase isn't just a gesture, it's a firm no to everything that drains you, and a courageous yes to the fact that your truth deserves space, voice, and life. 3. Cut the gossip before it contaminates you. Imagine the scene. You're at work, finishing your day, chatting casually in the hallway or kitchen, when someone approaches with a tone almost confessional. "Did you hear what happened with the accounting girl?" Or worse, "I heard the manager had a huge argument with the team." It's automatic. Curiosity ignites like a match in the dark. But the question almost no one asks is, do I really need to know that? Gossip is like fire in a dry field. It starts with a spark, seems harmless, but soon spirals out of control, burning reputations, relationships, and even your own integrity. We're drawn to it because, on some level, we believe knowing about others' lives gives us power, but it's an illusion. What brings us wisdom isn't what we say about others, it's what we're capable of keeping silent about within ourselves. Historically, speaking of others had a social function, protection, warning, connection. But today it's become a pastime. Where there's no purpose, there's waste. Before sharing something about someone, perform the simplest, most powerful test. Would I feel okay if they said this about me? If the answer is no, then why carry that poison in your mouth? Seneca said, "Language reflects the soul. When it's dirty, it's a sign that the heart also needs cleaning." Talking about others' lives, even without ill intent, reveals more about you than about the person being mentioned. So, how do you protect yourself from this common trap? Here are 3 simple but powerful moves. First, practice silence. Go a week without speaking about anyone else's life. No criticism, no comment, no insinuation. Observe how it changes the atmosphere around you. You'll realize silence, when practiced with awareness, isn't empty. It's presence. Second, interrupt with intention. If someone brings up gossip, change the subject. Say, "I prefer to talk about ideas, not people." Share something you learned, a reflection, a book, a question. Elevate the conversation. Don't impose, guide by example. Third, breathe before reacting. Gossip sometimes arrives as an impulse, but a deep breath before responding can be the space between a mistake and wisdom. That pause is the border between the old habit and the new choice. And if by chance you fall into the trap, it's okay. The point isn't to be perfect. It's to become conscious. Every word is a choice. Every choice reveals the life you're building. Speaking intentionally and with discipline isn't just self-control, it's respect for yourself, for others, and for the sacred space of coexistence. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, everything you hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything you see is a perspective, not the truth. Gossip, in essence, distances us from truth, from what's essential, the silence that listens, the word that builds, and the peace that arises when we choose not to harm. 4. Turn off the noise before it drowns out who you are. There's something subtle, almost imperceptible, that weakens us every day. Constant distraction. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't shout, it leaves no visible marks. But when you notice, your time, your focus, and your presence are already gone. We live submerged in an endless stream. Short videos, notifications, likes, reels, comments, endless feeds. It's like standing at the edge of the sea, with waves crashing against you constantly, but never learning to swim. You're slowly dragged under, without resistance. And the cruelest part? You barely notice. You start your day full of intention, and end it with a drained mind, having done nothing that truly brings you closer to the person you want to be. The question is simple and direct. Who has control, you or the screen? The problem isn't technology, it's addiction to stimulation. It's the inability to be still. It's the fear of facing yourself without distractions. Marcus Aurelius wrote in complete silence amid war, "Don't let your soul dissolve into fragments." And that's exactly what happens when you're constantly connected to everything and disconnected from yourself. Every meaningless click is a piece of you lost. Every compulsive scroll is an escape. And whoever lives fleeing from themselves never finds peace. Want a real image? Imagine a house with all windows open. Wind enters, dust enters, noise enters, everything enters. Now imagine trying to meditate in that space. Impossible. That's your mind when exposed to 1,000 stimuli with no filter. You're not present in anything, only reacting. But here's the Stoic twist. You don't need to hate technology or become extreme. You need discipline, clarity, intention. Disconnecting isn't flight, it's protection. It's building an invisible wall around your mental clarity. And it begins with small decisions. Set aside 30 minutes a day for silence. Ignore notifications that aren't urgent. Choose the content you consume as carefully as you choose what you put in your body. Each time you do this, you send a clear message to your brain. My attention is valuable, and I won't waste it anymore. Digital moderation is the new virtue. In a world where everyone is hooked on distraction, the true revolutionary is the one who knows when to pause. Because in the end, focus is freedom. And where there is freedom, begins the life truly worth living. 5. Free yourself from the expectations that imprison you. Unrealistic expectations are like mirages in the desert. The more you run toward them, the farther they recede. They promise fulfillment, predictability, perfection, but in the end, they deliver only frustration, anxiety, and exhaustion. Your mind creates perfect scenes, friendships without flaws, relationships always harmonious, a life plan that never loses direction. And when reality doesn't follow the script, pain arrives. Not because something went wrong, but because you expected everything to go exactly as you imagined. Epictetus said with firmness, "Don't wish for events to happen as you desire. Wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow serenely." This isn't resignation. It's emotional intelligence. It's understanding that peace isn't about controlling everything, but about adjusting to what you can't change. How many times have you expected someone to never disappoint you? That a friend would think exactly like you? That a partner would read your mind? That the world would understand you without explanation? That rigidity builds invisible walls between you and others? You expect perfection and forget that everyone has limitations, burdens, and wounds. When your peace depends on others' actions, it becomes fragile, vulnerable, unstable. Similarly, we project personal goals with exact paths. You draw a plan and believe that simply following it will be enough. But life is curved, it's headwind, it's a loose stone on the path. If you don't adapt, you break. Rigid expectations are traps disguised as ambition. Imagine a fertile field. You prepare the soil, you plant, you water, you protect it from the cold. You do everything within your power. But the sun and the rain, those you cannot control. You can do your best, and still the outcome may not arrive as you hoped. Wisdom, as the Stoics taught, is to focus on what's yours and release what isn't. Because true peace isn't passivity, it's active acceptance. It's saying, "I did what I could, now I trust." Unrealistic expectations are prisons with invisible walls. You walk, but you don't advance. You blame yourself for things never in your hands and repeat the cruel mantra, "It should have been different." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste energy complaining that the world isn't as it should be. Transform what you can within yourself." That is the heart of Stoic philosophy. Master yourself, not the world. Flexibility isn't weakness, it's wisdom. True strength is continuing forward, even when the path isn't the one you imagined. Eliminate unrealistic expectations. Embrace the real, the imperfect, the possible. Let your presence today sow what only time will make bloom. Because in the end, peace isn't about having everything under control. It's knowing that no matter what happens, you are capable of continuing. 6. Stop stalling your life trying to be perfect. Perfectionism disguises itself as virtue, but acts like a prison. It's that voice whispering, "It's not good enough yet." Even when you've studied everything, reviewed 1,000 times, prepared every detail, that voice appears, questions, paralyzes. Have you ever paused a project because you feared you weren't up to the task? Spent hours adjusting a detail no one would notice, just to feel you had control? That's perfectionism. Fear disguised as diligence, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of showing the world something that isn't flawless. But the truth is, this search for perfection is a trap. You're not trying to be better, you're trying to avoid pain. As the Stoic Musonius Rufus said, "It's better to fail bravely than to remain motionless, waiting for the ideal condition that never comes." Perfectionism is like a driver who drives too slowly, terrified of crashing, but who, because of it, never arrives anywhere. He's always braking, and calls it prudence. But what he really has is fear of moving forward. Many confuse perfectionism with excellence, but they're opposites. Excellence is born from practice, exposure, repeated error with purpose. Perfectionism is the attempt to avoid error before even beginning, and that creates a subtle, silent, but constant paralysis. That's why procrastination walks hand in hand with perfectionism. When you believe you can only act when everything is perfect, you never act. So what's the solution? Simple, but powerful. Start even if you feel insecure. Start even if the text seems bad. Start even if the idea is still confused. Start even if you feel you're not ready. Think of a sculptor. He doesn't begin with a perfect piece. He begins with a rough block. It's by striking the chisel, making mistakes, reworking slowly, that the masterpiece emerges. An imperfect draft opens space for success. Without the first step, there is no path. Marcus Aurelius wrote something essential. Don't wait for the perfect republic of Plato. Be content with the smallest progress, and never despise progress, however modest it may seem. This isn't mediocrity, it's wisdom. Real life doesn't reward those who wait for perfect conditions. It rewards those who have the courage to begin, to adjust, to try again. What transforms isn't perfection. It's continuous, imperfect, authentic action. Because what's done with truth is worth more than what's perfect in silence. The courage to try, even while trembling, is what makes you advance. It's that which builds strength, confidence, and real growth. So if you want to turn the key today, write in the comments, "Better done than perfect," because that's what you need to remember every time fear tries to paralyze you. Imperfect action is the beginning of everything you can still become. 7. Reject the shortcuts that sabotage your greatness. The Stoics believed a life without resistance is like a body that has never trained, fragile, vulnerable, unprepared to bear the weight of reality. Avoiding effort is also avoiding your own growth. Whoever flees the path that demands more of them ends up ignoring the only path that truly forms character. Believing in shortcuts is one of the most silent forms of self-sabotage. They seem efficient, but they're like revolving doors. You enter full of hope, and exit exactly where you started, often even more tired, more frustrated. Think clearly. How many times have you seen someone try to transform their entire life with a quick fix? Fad diets, miracle apps, secret methods. But none of it lasts without real effort, without daily commitment, without patience, without the step-by-step. Seneca wrote, "The ladder that rises fast also falls fast." Everything built quickly breaks easily, because what comes easily goes the same way. Excellence isn't based on speed, it's based on depth. And here's the essential point. Writer Malcolm Gladwell, studying patterns of excellence, discovered that every highly competent person invested, on average, 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. This doesn't mean merely repeating an action for a long time. It means committing daily, with intention, discipline, and openness, to fail, adjust, and grow. It's the path of patience, persistence, and humility. Whoever always seeks shortcuts doesn't just develop poor results, they develop an impatient, fragile mind. And when the first difficulties arise, as they always do, that mind collapses. Because shortcuts don't teach resilience, they don't build character. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, prepare to look foolish for a while." And that's the truth many avoid. The path that demands more isn't punishment, it's training for the soul. It's where you learn to wait without surrendering, to repeat without complaining, to fail without abandoning yourself. Your greatest conquest won't be finding the fastest route, but becoming the person capable of sustaining the success you desire, not by luck, but by merit, by construction. So write in the comments, with firmness and awareness. I choose the path that transforms, not because it's easy, but because it forges in me what no one can take away: inner strength, clarity of purpose, and true virtue. 8. Master your mind before anxiety decides for you. Anxiety is like a shadow. It appears even before the sun rises. Even before you start your day, you feel your heart racing, your mind racing, your body tense. And the strangest part? Most of the time, there's no real danger. only fear of something that might happen, or worse, something that might never happen. The Stoics called this anticipatory suffering, the habit of living mentally in a future that hasn't arrived, trying to control what's beyond your power. And this exhausts you, because when you try to control the uncontrollable, you're the one who loses control. Think of anxiety like driving on a crowded highway. You can't control the other drivers. No matter how much you worry, you won't change their actions. The only thing under your command is how you drive, your focus, your speed, your decisions. The same applies to life. Much of your anxiety stems from this subtle error, investing energy where you have no power. You want to know if the interview will go well, if the relationship will last, if your message will be answered. You can't control those outcomes, but you can control your preparation, your attitude, your response. You can control whether you show up fully, whether you respond with clarity, whether you treat yourself with kindness, whether you breathe when panic rises. Anxiety doesn't come from the situation, it comes from your interpretation of it. As Epictetus said, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. So when anxiety arises, pause, ask, what part of this is under my control? What part am I trying to control, but cannot? Then release the latter. Focus all your energy on the former. Your mind is not a crystal ball, it's a tool, and you are its master. Train it to stay in the present, to trust your preparation, to accept uncertainty, because peace isn't found in having all the answers. It's found in knowing you can handle whatever comes, with your mind steady, your heart calm, and your spirit unbroken. 9. Stop seeking external validation. Your worth is already complete. You don't need applause to be worthy. You don't need likes to be enough. You don't need approval to be valid. Yet we spend our lives begging for it, posting, performing, proving, as if our value were a currency traded on the market of others' opinions. This is the silent poison of our age. We measure ourselves by metrics that don't measure the soul. We become addicted to the dopamine hit of a comment, a share, a like, and forget that the deepest human needs, to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, can't be fulfilled by screens. Marcus Aurelius didn't need 1,000 followers to know his worth. He knew his value from within. Your worth isn't determined by how many people admire you. It's determined by the courage you show when no one is watching. It's in the decision to speak your truth, even if your voice trembles. It's in the choice to rest, even when the world demands more. It's in the quiet act of saying no, to protect your peace. You are not less because someone didn't respond. You are not broken because someone judged you. You are not unworthy because you failed. You are whole, right now. As Seneca said, the man who trusts himself does not depend on the opinion of others. Stop outsourcing your self-worth. Stop waiting for the world to say you're enough. Start saying it yourself, every single day. Write in the comments, I am enough, exactly as I am. That's not arrogance, it's liberation. Your worth isn't earned, it's inherent. And when you finally believe it, you stop chasing, you stop shrinking, you stop apologizing for existing, you simply are. And that is the ultimate freedom.